All right, ladies, and we are live. Welcome to Tea Talk with the Sisterhood. We meet every Wednesday from 1 p.m. until to discuss issues that are on the hearts and minds of the sisterhood. Before we get started, I would love for the panel to introduce themselves to the listening audience.
Peace, everybody. This is Mo with Tri-City Visionaries, and I'm part of what we actually do is teach small business on how to deal with government contracts by way of government certifications, and teach high school students how to transition to either the workforce, entrepreneurship, the military, or oh yeah, all that good stuff. So peace to the panel, peace to the archive watchers, and peace to everybody in the chat.
Peace and love to everyone watching. My name is Alima Inja, also Lily La Poete. I am the author of Perceptions of a Misplaced African poetry novel, Volume 1. It's available now on Kindle and Amazon. And we hope you guys enjoy the show today.
Hello, this is Cheryl. I am a government contractor and also assist other people starting their businesses and wanting to do government contracting as well.
Excellent. Sister Cheryl, you didn't want to elaborate because sis, you're doing some marvelous work in the community. I think you cut yourself kind of short. I know you guys just want a government contract and
we did. We did. I actually ended up getting on a Brown contract for leadership. So she's doing that with Houston HISD. We also, a guy got a contract just by listening to our show, and Mo could probably go in on that a little more. And didn't he just win another contract, Mo?
Wow.
Yeah, I think, it's Tremaine Trace Guy Stevens. He's in Virginia. And yes, he just won a contract. And then we got a few others who are submitting. So hopefully they'll have some success stories soon.
And between me and Mo, we each have about 5 or 6 contracts ourselves. So we're trying to get it
in. Excellent work, man. I feel so fortunate, just to be able to connect with you, to connect with you sisters week after week, because I know that everyone on this panel is doing, wonderful things in the community. You got Sister Alima, she has a book, that's being sold. Around the country right now. You got Sister Monica and Sister Cheryl, who are helping brothers and sisters land contracts and establish, 501c3s and LLCs and S Corps. So, I'm just, I feel privileged week after week just to be, in your presence. For the listening audience who don't know who I am, and maybe this is your first time tuning in to Tea Talk with the Sisterhood, my name is Dr. Oya Ma'at. But look, I might be changing my name if Sister Alima hooks up this African reading. When I get down to Atlanta, I'm supposed to be going down there. Initially, it was the second weekend of April, but we changed it to the first week in May. So, sis, I probably need you to set up the reading, because I know you're going away to the Akamalu Festival that weekend, so you won't be in town, but I'll be in town, and hopefully I can hook up with a Bible out and get a reading. So I hope that I am a Oya, because I did name myself Oya. So I'm praying that that my name can remain the same. But anyway, my name is Dr. Oya Ma'at. I am the co-founder and president of Ed Anime Productions, and we are a company who creates educational and empowering animations for children. And right now, we're working on our first animated series, which is called Meltrek. And we have 2 episodes available. Meltrek episode 1 is entitled Exploring Ancient Africa. And so we take the children back in time to learn, about the great African civilizations. And the whole entire objective of that film is to teach our children that our history does not begin with the Ma'afa. It does not begin with the era of enslavement. We're currently we're about to release Meltrek episode 2, exploring the pre-Columbian Americas. And in this episode, we take children back in time so they learn about, the Aboriginal cultures of the Americas. And they also learned that there was an African presence in the Americas prior to the European presence. So visit edanimeproductions.com to secure your copy. If you order Meltrek episode 1, it's going to ship right away. If you order Meltrek episode 2, we're looking to ship it out hopefully within the next 2 to 3 weeks. All right, so let's venerate the ancestors before we get started. The sisterhood, we understand that we always honor, we always venerate our ancestors because we understand that we are our ancestors. We are incarnations of them, and we stand on their shoulders. And what we mean by shoulders is that they are our foundation. From them, we draw strength, encouragement, and wisdom to maneuver in this thing that we call life. So we love to honor and salute our ancestors at every chance that we get. When I call their names, my sisters, please. Oh, and we also, since this is a female thing, we typically venerate our ancestral lineage of females. All right. So when I call their names, please respond with Ashe, Ya Satiwa,
Ashe,
Queen Nzinga,
Ashe,
Harriet Tubman,
Ashe,
Dr. Frances Cress Welsing.
Ashe.
Ladies, call some names.
Winnie Mandela. Is she alive still? She might be alive, actually. Never mind.
Harriet Tubman.
Ashe.
Dr.
Shirley
Frances.
Chisholm.
Ashe.
Mary McLeod Bethune.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Hamer.
Ashe.
Sojourner Truth.
Ashe. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing.
Ashe.
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 Okay.
Ada B. Wells.
Ashe.
Sister Carlotta.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Sister Lucy. This was the sister that
Oh yeah.
Sister Lucy from Nat Turner, from the Nat Turner Rebellion. She was actually hung.
Yes.
He was hung with the brothers. So Sister Lucy.
Ashe.
Sister Billie Holiday. I just learned a lot about her story.
Yes. Ashe.
Ashe. Definitely.
Ashe. Henrietta Lacks.
Ashe.
I challenge us all to find some new female ancestors.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
High five. High five.
Definitely. Let's do it. All right. Do you want to call out women that are in your direct lineage at this time?
Gloria Williams.
Oh. Ashe. Luella Forbes.
Ashe.
Thelma Mott.
Ashe.
Ashe. Myrtle Bailey.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Evelina McFadden.
Ashe. Johnny Ruth Savoy.
Ashe.
Ashe. Rose James.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Evelina Francis.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. Ashe. All right. So we have a wonderful discussion ahead of us. But before we get into that discussion, do you ladies want to talk about the hot topics? I know that one hot topic is your president just dropped a bomb. I believe, was it in Syria or Afghanistan somewhere? I know he shot missiles at Syria, and he dropped the bomb somewhere. Where was the bomb?
I think it was Afghanistan, wasn't it?
It was Afghanistan. Okay, yeah. So your president, man, is going haywire right now, shooting missiles at these Middle Eastern countries and dropping bombs on them. So I know that a war is coming soon. I was telling my sons, I said, get ready. Get ready. Males between the 18 and 35, get ready, because we don't have a huge military force. And I know Sister Monique, at the time that I was in the military, I remember we were only 250,000 strong. I don't know what the numbers are today, but I know that when I got out in 2006, at that time, there were only about 250,000 people in the armed services. So I don't know what the numbers are today, but I know that, given that we have bases all around the world and you have soldiers being shipped all around the world, we don't have a very strong, I'm talking about in terms of bodies right now, and I'm not talking about technology, but I'm talking about bodies right now. We don't have a lot of people that are a part of the armed forces. Whereas you look at China, I think they have 2 million people in the military and like 1 million people in the reserve. So I think like 3 million of their citizens are involved in the military.
Yeah, they downsize. You know, we downsize more often than ever because we have, you know, civilians saying what the military should have and shouldn't have. And so when they feel like it or they think they contributing too much, they downsize on us. So we just went through a huge downsizing. So yes, the draft is what if we have a real major one, if they can't exhaust the reserve and the National Guard, then civilians, here they come.
Right.
And you know, we're normally in conflict every 10 years. So we are a little past that right now. So we're due for something.
Yeah. Yeah. And that makes sense because I believe before this, what did we have? There was
we had the
war in Iraq, and then you had Desert Shield, Desert Storm.
You had OEF was Afghan, then Iraq was before that OIF, and then you had Desert Shield, Desert Storm, which was in the Balkans, and then you had what's the one that's closer to us? Is it Somalia or when they shut down? Remember when they shut down the borders and we couldn't go into Africa? I used to be able to run them all because I used to count the years to find out when was the next one so I could see what I need to get out.
Yeah, I mean,
but
this. Yeah. So yeah, and then before that you had oh my gosh, then Vietnam ended in 68,
yeah.
69? 69 and World War II. When was that over? Around the 1940s, right? And then but then you had World War I, and that was the 20s, 30s, around that time.
Yep.
Yeah. So, like you said, Sister Monique, that sounds about right. That we're in conflict, like every decade, between every 1 to 2 decades, there's some sort of major conflict. So, I've been telling folks, to just get ready. And then another hot topic would be, there was a guy from Cleveland. Riding around. They kept on calling him the Facebook
killer.
The Facebook serial killer. So I know I didn't really follow the story like that. I did hear that he murdered himself right before he was apprehended. I did hear that he's now dead. But he was going around murdering folks because I think they said his girlfriend broke up with him and he had a nervous breakdown. I mean, I didn't follow the story, but is that true, Sister Monica? His girlfriend broke up with him?
Yes. According to his video, he said he had been stressing for the last years. Girl broke up with him. He said he deals with a lot. He was one of those behavior health. I think he worked in one of the juvenile centers, and his girlfriend worked with she was a counselor, and according to him, he was like he had been stressing and he could help everybody with their problems, but he didn't have anybody to turn to, and it was boggling up inside, and him and his girl got into it the morning of, and he just left and decided that he was going to shoot everybody that he could until he was actually either apprehended or killed himself. And this interesting when it comes to these type of situations, he said the day before he had gone to his mom and, she brushed him off. He's like, I'm going to commit suicide. I'm going to kill some people. And he was telling his friends. And on one of the videos, he's on the phone with one of his friends. And he's like, yo, I've been trying to tell you guys, I've been stressed out. I'm going to do something crazy. Y'all don't take me serious. So, my biggest concern with that story, definitely he should not have, just killed innocent people. One in particular is the elderly gentleman that he just rolled up on. I actually watched the video. I didn't think I realized what actually was getting ready to happen. But he killed innocent people. But we have people that are pushed to that, regardless if it's from a breakup or they, life, they're just having significant major issues in life. And they're saying things like, I'm gonna kill myself, I'm gonna kill others. Are they going to go off the edge? Or are they going to create some big hostile problem for the world? And because they probably do it more often than never, and they never carry through with it, we kind of brush it off. I take that stuff really serious, especially coming from military, having to deal with the suicidal things all the time. regardless if they cry wolf 100 times, I'm trying to push him to get help. And you know, he went off the edge, and it's unfortunate because now the family has lost a father, of you know, a grandfather, uncle, and so on. And then you're running around the city. They've caught him in Philly. He was in Philly when he decided to take himself out. And the whole time he's on social media and just like, you know what, I'm just at the edge. And he's talking, right? And he's just as calm as can be, even though he's over the edge. And I said this in our Loving the Skinny I'm in event. I said, you know, the person that we don't pay attention to is the one that we seem to think have it together and really is going to be able to handle that situation and come out to the good. When in actuality, those people are really pushed to the edge. So you got your people who go to work every day, you know, that's dealing and bothered up by some things. And every now and then they express it to people. And we kind of like, oh, they'll be all right. Oh, you going to be all right. Or, oh, go pray about it. Or, oh, you know, just take a day off or take a stress this or that, whatever. When in actuality, these people, we don't pay attention to them because they're holding down a job or they're holding down, you know, they may be holding down their lifestyle, but they hurt too. And we overlook that. And I'm not condoning anything the guy did, because you know, he should have just took himself out if that's what he wanted to do in the first place. But at the end of the day, we got people to our left and right, and I have a strong compassion for my veterans. And I think that we need to really, you know, when people come to you and say things like that, take it seriously, put them on suicidal watch, admit them to the mental health or something. But we really have to stop saying, oh, well, or it's your life, because that guy went around taking out innocent lives.
Sister Alima, did you want to add, sis?
I mean, just to be clear, I'm pretty sure he did not shoot 13 people. Where are the other victims? So clearly that was just because 13 other victims would have surfaced by now. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't really want to touch on it because it's just so much speculation surrounding it. If I'll just say rest in peace to the brother. So let me agree with Monica 100% that mental illness is not taken seriously in our community.
No, it's not. It's not. You have Black folks who don't even believe in, you know, therapy. You say, I want to go see a therapist. They think that something is wrong with you. Yeah. Like, you know, as if we don't need, if anybody needs mental attention, it's Black people who ask me. You know, but, mental, you know, we got to give ourselves mental attention, man. And if you have some issues going on and you know that you're depressed or stressed out, I'm with Sister Monica. Please talk to someone. Hear that someone is stressed out and depressed. You know, talk to them or try to get them some help, because you never know what could pop off from that. Like there was a guy right here in Baltimore. He was stressed out about, you know, he broke up with his wife, and they were going through a child custody case, and he was stressed out about that, and he ended up shooting his ex-wife and her lover, her new boyfriend who moved into the house, you know. So a lot of this sort of stuff is going on, you know. So like you said, Sister Monica, we have to pay attention to the signs. You know, if someone is talking to you about what's going on, we have to pay attention. But Sister Alima, that's a good question. How many victims have they found?
One. That's why, the one. That's why.
Just the one.
I'm pretty sure that it was just that one, and he probably just said that just to be saying that, you know, just to make himself sound like big and tough. Because I mean, that would have been surfaced by now. You can't keep 13 bodies a secret.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It was the one. I know. You know how in the military, Dr. Mayad, how if one brought up that they was dealing with something, they would kind of get, you know, kind of get pushed aside for promotion, or, you know, people would kind of like, okay, you can't do this or you can't do that. And I think for the rest of the world, I think it kind of goes on like that, where someone really expressed the fact that they're dealing with something that people count them out from their productivity from life overall. Yeah. And I know it's a huge stigma in the military, where you know, especially now, you coming back, you talking about our last major conflicts, which, you know, one can't deny you got some level of post-traumatic stress at somewhere, right? And so you got these folks, you know, folks who are still who are still trying to manage, but they need some help. But as soon as someone finds out, even though it should be probably kept confidential, that person is seeing someone as a coping mechanism, they get blackballed. And so as a society, I think that's something that we have to fix. It's probably why it gets mitigated, because people tend to get looked at as being weak or unproductive. But it's just something we definitely got to work on individually in your own circles first, and then out if you have contact with anybody else.
I agree 200%. And I guess the last thing I wanted to mention, I just found this out today, that the NFL player Aaron Hernandez, they said he committed suicide. Do you guys remember the case that he was involved in a few years back? He was sentenced to life.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yep.
Yeah. So they said he killed himself in prison. But I have to be honest, I wasn't shocked when I found out that he killed himself in prison. A lot of things, and I've been behind the wall, you know. So, and I, as a female, but I've heard stories of what goes down in the men's facilities. Like even when I was behind the wall, you know, we would receive what we call kites trays from male prisons, because sometimes your lunch trays or your meal trays were prepared at another facility, and it may be prepared at a male's facility. So sometimes if the males wanted to communicate with the females, they would send like little notes, like taped to the bottom of your tray and stuff like that. But anyway, there was a lot of things there are a lot of things that go down in the men's facility. You have lifers who are in there, you know, having sex with guys that come through, you know. So you have lifers that will attack you, that will rob you, because they figure, hey, you know, this is my home. I'm not going anywhere. I have nothing to lose. And so if you're a newcomer and you're not protected, meaning that you're not in a clique. So with the men's prison, if you're not with the Mexican crew or the Aryan blood guys or the Bloods, Crips, Guerrillas, or a Muslim, and you're just out there by yourself, you know, you are a target. And so I don't know what he went through, but I know for the men, it is extremely hard. It's hard for the women, you know, but we're not trying to test, you know, we're not trying to be the alpha woman. I came across maybe one or two females that were like that, but no, you know, I was housed with about, it was 700 or 800 of us, split between 3 or 4 dorms. And what I saw was that women, we're more nurturing. We want to help you. Oh, let me share my commissary with you. Oh, but in the men's prison, it's about proving that you are an alpha male. You know what I mean? It's about that. And so I can only imagine what that brother experienced, which made him want to kill himself. And one thing that prison does teach you is how to kill yourself. There are a lot of people, there were women who committed suicide when I was in there. And one day I'm going to do a show on my whole experience being behind the wall, about step by step what I saw, you know, the guards, how the guards treat the women, the type of food, you know, the medical services that we receive. Go all in, you know. I'm gonna sit down, and I'll probably bring in about 2 women that were also housed these that I was in. I know that a few of them are home now, so I might just do a show and bring all of them in to talk about it. But you know, again, I can only imagine what that brother. What'd you say, Sister Monica?
Oh, no, I was saying I got a sister who actually I used to get her to speak to some young females who think it's a joke, who think that because they get this false perception from some of these folks who only went like to the county jail for a couple of days and come back. And so you have these younger girls that we mentor who want to be, you know, bad bees, who thinks that it's, you know, they can live that life. They're about their life. And I have a sister who actually I would get to come and speak. And you know, Dr. You need to do that show. You definitely need to do that show. Because I mean, I have young girls they would look at her and they would be like, okay, and I got to experience it for myself. And I'm looking at them like, she just gave you the real rundown. Yes, you need to do that. Now make sure all these girls is tuned in.
Yeah, and get in touch with that sister. And so we can
go
together and bring her on, and I'll bring a few other sisters on to talk about their experience behind the wall. You don't want to go behind the wall. You don't want to go behind the wall. The going behind the wall is like hell on earth. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about, like you said, the real wall, not the county jail.
Yeah.
Not the county jail. You know, I'm talking about the real wall. We call it, the brothers call that the G wall. You don't want to go behind the G wall. So anyway,
but even real talk, while you talking though, depending on what state you in, you would rather be in prison than in the county. And you go to New York, you probably rather go to Adams County. Here down here, rather go to county jail, Fulton County Jail. They actually on a TV show now, Fulton County Jail, because it's one of the worst, and that's not prison.
Wow.
A lot of people get stuck in jail waiting for trial. They be in county jail 4 or 5 years waiting for their trials.
Wow. Wow. So like you said, depending on what state you're in, sis, you might want
prefer.
So
you all right?
Yes. Yes, prepare that. That's a definitely important show to actually have.
I agree, sis.
Yep. And then after you do that, then we need a couple brothers, because I got couple young fellas who want to be about that life, you know. And we have a program right now that actually, matter of fact, we get our next class come through in July that helps felons or those with at least 2 misdemeanors get a second chance, and we send them through an 8-week program that's held at Midlands Technical College that was put together by the founder of the nonprofit organization. And then they do 8 weeks, and then they get employment, and they go through, you know, those characteristics. But yeah, we gotta somehow get those individuals who are in the schools right now to understand that you don't want to be about that life from both ends, from the stress level side of mental health. Get some help now. If you're stressing over maybe taking on the burdens of your parents and it's pushing you to an edge, and so it's causing you to develop a certain character that's causing anger and all this great stuff, that too, both sides of the end, behavioral health, and once you get behind those walls, what actually happens. So go ahead, Dr. Mayad. I was just waiting for you to come back in.
Oh yes, sis. I just had a coughing spell, and I don't even know where it came from out of the blue. But definitely we're going to line up that show. But today, let's get to the main topic, the question. I said, what happened to the code? What happened to the code? And Sister Alima, and also current events were the impetus behind having the show. Now my voice is more raspy. It's already deep raspy, but I just had a cough and spell, and now it's like I feel like my voice is gone. But anyway, Sister Alima put up a post a while ago, and she was talking about sisterhood. And she said, what happened to the code among the sisters? And she said, it seems like the brothers had more of a code than the sisters. And then I've been looking at current events in Baltimore, and events that are happening, you know, across the U.S. And I noticed that, you know, I said, we don't, as Black people, we don't have a code that we abide by. I feel like, you know, when I used to talk to my grandmother, who's now an ancestor, she told me about how we treated one another during her time. And my grandmother was born in 1933. She transitioned in 2004. But we used to have conversations about how Black people treated one another during her day, how men treated women, how women treated men, how the family operated, how the community operated. And, you know, when I compare her generation, and not even her generation, even my mother's generation, to my generation and this current generation, we are very far removed from that code that we used to have. And so, sisters, I want to open it up for you to talk about the code and how, you know, I want to begin with discussing Black male and female relationships. So back in the day, how did Black males treat Black females, and how did Black females. And if we could open that up, if we can open that up, I want to begin by saying that years ago, Black men used to actually court Black women. Nowadays it's Netflix and chill. You know, they want to come over and chill, throw on the Netflix. And don't get me wrong, that's cool. But I'm talking about back in that day, men used to actually court women. So let's go, ladies. Let's build on that. Male-female relationships, compare those to yesterday and today.
Well, you gonna start, Mo?
Go ahead, Cheryl.
No, I just wanted to say that back in the day, men didn't ask us for money. You know, whenever they wanted to take us out on a date, if they had to scrape it up and ask 12 of their friends to give them money, they never asked females. But men are very free now with asking women for money. You know, and I think that kind of changed, I guess, in the last few years, where men feel comfortable coming to females asking them for money. So I think that's kind of a different look on some things. When a man, they take away that manhood to me, when you coming to me to ask, for money.
I think a lot of what just Sister Cheryl is talking about stems from, I wonder if some of it stems from this whole movement to where women wanted to be independent and they wanted to be like men and they don't need a man for X, Y, and Z. So, men are it's like men have in turn taken the same attitude. Like we only need women for maybe money if I need money or just my sexual pleasures or whatever. But I wonder if women, if we played a part in the downfall of that relationship, as well as I think the media has a really big part in it. The music that we listen to, the movies that we watch. I mean, it doesn't cater to relationships and building strong relationships or strong bonds. It's typically the opposite.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Go ahead, Dr. Maya.
No. I was just agreeing with Sister Alima. Oh my goodness, my voice is gone after that coughing spell. But I was agreeing with Sister Alima. Absolutely.
Yes, I know. We talk in terms of back in the day, and I speak with my aunts, or I watch my grandma and my aunts them, and how they relate to one another. And I don't even have to go that far back. Just some of my immediate, probably my cousins who are probably in their 50s who have husbands. I know one of my cousins made a comment. She said the reason she allowed, she came out of that whole, oh, I'll do it, oh, let me get it. She said because her husband one time, he would always, offer, he opens the door, he buys, he treats her like a lady should be treated, courting her. Went to permissions to the parents first, respect her. And then she got to a point where she'd be like, well, I don't want to eat steak tonight. Let's go to Burger King or let's do this. So she started downplaying some of the things that he was doing because he was just being a gentleman. Wow. And so she realized, so after a while, he got used to it. And so he no longer pampered her or gave her nice things or treated her, or treated her with that level of respect. And then she wondered why. And he said, well, every time I used to offer it to you, you did the opposite, and after a while, he just kind of got used to not doing it. And I remember my aunt at one point, in reference to traditions, how my aunts, it was a tradition that if you, especially when you talk in terms of courting, if you were going to date a young lady, you definitely had to go see the elders. Like, you was not coming up in there. And I always knew it. So if you could believe this, I've invited one guy to my house. If you would have no intentions on marrying me, all my boyfriends, I never invited them to my house. And people, so they got to a point they thought I was gay. They still think I'm gay now because I don't bring guys home. But I knew that the respect level was that if you gonna bring a guy in our company, they gonna have to go see some people. And when they go see those people, I knew that that person had to have their stuff together, and it couldn't be no weak-minded person, because I knew that they was going to vet them, and they were going to vet them on things like, you know, what do you have planned for my daughter's life, or how do you plan to treat her, and what, you know, what is going to be your future? And they weren't saying that you had to have it right now. They just want to know what's the plan and what do you plan to do. And my mom, out of her mouth, the first thing she would tell you is, if you put your hands on my daughter, let's establish that first. And then she'll go into, okay, this is how you need to treat her. But I always knew that. And so I held that up. And so I always told the guy, if I date him, that I needed you, if you decided that you wanted to pursue me for that long haul future, that I had to line you up with some people. And I knew, and at that moment, the guy would either one or two things. They would be like, okay, or they'll say, oh, I ain't going through all that. And at that moment, I knew you was not going to be in a long-term relationship. We wasn't even going to make it, because I respected my elders just that much.
That's right.
So now some of them has passed on, and I be kind of count down in my head, like, who do you go to next? Like, who gonna give you that approval? Because and the reason I do that, because my grandma made a comment, and she said my cousin was getting ready to get married. My grandma was very upset. And I was like, why are you so upset? She loved this person. He's a good person. She was like, because you're supposed to go to the oldest elder in the family to get blessings first, before you even have said that you was even willing to marry this person, or that person was even willing to ask you for marriage. He was already supposed to go. And I was like, at the time I was like, well, how were we supposed to know that? Who was supposed to tell us that? So since that day, I express it to my cousins, and I make sure, hey, listen, before you actually do this, you might want to go see such and such, because I know they probably didn't know, or nobody told them. And so at that time, that young girl or that young guy would say something like, oh, I don't have to do that. I don't need that blessing or approval. And at that point, I look back and say, okay, if you know the tradition, if you know the code, why don't you abide by it? And it gets broken because along the way, somebody decided they didn't have to do that. And I think that's how we started to dwindle. I know, because a lot of the things that are happening in society, I know in my family, a lot of the things that's happening in society and that that I've been exposed to today, that could have been a triggering factor. We didn't get that information. And even to this day, if I go and I expose some stuff to some of my family members, they have no idea what I'm talking about. So for my family, it's been a matter of whether or not they wanted to uphold the standard or they wanted to do their own thing.
Yeah, so Sister Monica, and I'm getting ready to drink some tea. So there were two things that you stated that spoke volumes to me. So the elders vetted who we were with. Elders. I said the elders vetted.
Yes. Males and females. Yes.
Right. So the elders vetted your part. I also heard you say that we courted for a purpose. So we didn't just meet up with somebody just to hook up. We courted people to determine who we were going to marry. So you're courting with a purpose. It's not like you're just hanging out with this dude, shooting a breeze with him. You're courting him to see if he could be a potential mate, or a potential husband. You know what I mean? A potential father. That was the point of dating. I was thinking about shotgun weddings while you were talking. How back in the day, you couldn't just knock up a man's daughter without marrying her or without having a plan for her. So they said that if you knocked up a man's daughter and you didn't have a plan for her, there was a father that came to the door with a shotgun, and he would say, well, what are you going to do? Because back in the day, if you got knocked up and you weren't married, it was a shame. It was shame brought to your family. Like, it's kind of like God treated you like a whore. And so the father would say, no, my daughter's not a whore. And in order for them not to have shame upon the family, the father would go and show up at the guy's door with a shotgun and say, you're going to marry, my daughter. And so hence the term shotgun wedding. And so, nowadays you have, and this is not to offend anybody who's listening, but now, we have these children and we move them in with our mom and dad, or maybe just our dad, or maybe just our mom. It was no plan it was no plan. We just had them. We were dealing with somebody. I know. I know. So we were dealing with somebody, and out of that relationship came children. But back in the day, you know, you had to have a plan. And if you didn't have a plan, you better find one quick, or somebody's father would be at the door with a daggone shotgun.
Mm-hmm. I remember my aunt is 70, I think she's 76. And I never really had a conversation with her, but this past to last funeral, we had a conversation because I ended up having to sit with her because she didn't want to be around a loud noise. And she said, you met my husband? I was like, yes, I met your husband. You know, I met my uncle. She was like, okay, he just passed or whatever. And I was like, yeah, I know. And she was like, so I asked her, I was inquisitive. I was asking about her mom and her dad because I heard, you know, different stories or whatever. And she said, I said, why did you end up all the way in Galveston? She said, because my mama didn't like my husband and I really loved him. So we had to get out of state because he couldn't stay in Louisiana. I always thought that was the funniest thing. Mm-hmm. And she was like, you know, so I just moved away so that I can marry my husband. I was like, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. But that came to mind when you were talking. I was thinking about shotgun weddings.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know, back in the day, it was, you know, no, we got to get married. And that goes to show you how keeping the family intact was important. You know, it was about keeping the family intact. So, you know, I remember my mother and them saying that they felt like divorce was a good thing because
abuse.
They were saying, well, you know, if it doesn't work out with somebody, you can always divorce the person. And how back in the day, people stayed together. They may have been miserable with each other, but they stayed together to keep the family intact. How do you all feel about that? Do you feel like divorce or having that option to divorce someone, do you think that affected the Black family? That's even us having that option. Because now people don't view marriage as final. A lot of people will say, well, look, you know, if it doesn't work out, I can always get divorced. But back in the day, it was, you know, people were like, no, we're not going to get divorced. And marriage was considered something final. So how do you sisters feel about that, marriage and divorce?
If it's abuse involved, you know, I think that divorce should be an option because it threatens the life. And it, you know, but sticking it out, it kind of depends on the severity of it. I think that if you make this decision, I know we get married quick, so it depends on how you get married. If you can make it work, I say exalt the means of settling whatever the issue is to make it work. But if you just go in totally opposite directions and it's causing hurt, harm, and danger for either the spouse or the children, then I would agree in getting out.
Yeah, I guess I agree with Sister Monica. We should definitely try our best that we can to tough it out. But, you know, under certain circumstances, especially circumstances of duress,
right?
It's just not bringing you any happiness. I never would recommend staying with someone just because you have children, because I've done that. And in the long run, the only person that ends up getting hurt the most is the children.
Sister Cheryl.
I don't know where Sister Cheryl went.
Oh, okay. All right. So the family. So now in terms of male-female relationships, we had elders who vetted our mates. And I also believe that we married for different reasons.
Exactly.
I don't think that it was all about, oh, I just love him, or he looks great, or she looks good. Or I think it was more, it was more about what can you bring to the table? What can we, you get what I'm saying? It wasn't just the way someone looked.
It was a means of survival. Marriage has always been looked at as a means of survival. That's why in most countries, if you're going to marry someone's daughter, you have to prove that you can sufficiently take care of her. And typically that's in the form of some type of dowry or something to show the family that I got her and she's good and she's not going to be back at your house. But it's not like that anymore because we're so individualistic. And like you said, everything is more geared towards looks. And so therefore, when we're marrying people on superficial basis,
that's what it is, superficial.
It's not going to last, because what if you married him and he was all hot, 6-pack, and then 3 years later he's fat? Now you want a divorce. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because it wasn't love to begin with.
Exactly. Superficiality. A lot of our relationships are formulated based on superficiality. Like you said, how someone looks, how they make you feel, or oh, he was funny. I've actually built with sisters who told me that they married and had children with men that they thought were funny. He made me laugh. He was funny. And then these same men turned out to be irresponsible human beings. So now you're stuck in a marriage with 3 and 4 children by an irresponsible guy. You get what I'm saying? So, so I'm hearing, I'm just going back over the conversation. The elders vetted our dates. There was a plan, for being with someone. We didn't formulate our relationships based off of superficiality. Men courted women.
That's right.
Men actually courted.
I'm sorry, I mean to cut you off, but when you was talking earlier and you said that's the whole purpose of dating, but we have to realize that courting and dating is not the same thing.
Yeah, I kind of use those words interchangeably.
Yeah, we do that often, but my older lady had hit me up on game, and she was like, they say nowadays that courting is dating, but she said courting is for a purpose. Dating is.
That's right. Dating is for fun. I like that. That's true. That's true. And I use the terms interchangeably, but I agree 100% that, courting is for a reason. I feel like anybody can date. Anybody can say, come on, let's set a date and go out to the movies.
Right.
You know what I mean? They courted. Courted you.
Yeah, we pick up habits from other ethnicity groups.
That's right.
And we never used to say nothing about no dating. That was the mother folks. And I remember asking, and I was in junior college, and the girl, that she used to, when she would say, oh, we dating, and then she'd be dating. I was like, how you dating all these different people? She's like, no, I mean, we just going out. We just gonna go on a date. It's not nothing official or whatnot. I'm like, but we adapt terms along the way, a lot. And I think even, if you ever pay attention, if you want to know if we out of whack, if you pay attention to kids, you ever paid attention to children, and the first thing they be thinking about is who they gonna marry. They be like, I'm gonna marry such and such, and she's gonna be my wife, and da 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 da. And by the time they get, because they still in elementary, but by the time they get to high school, they like, oh no, it's too much work. They're like, I'm not gonna do this. I'm like, oh no, my niece, she trips me out. She'd be like, oh no, Auntie Mo, I just can't do it. But you know what though? She mimics her parents or the individuals around her. So in one instance, here you got single Auntie Mo over here who doing this and who is doing that. So that's appealing to her. But then she has her parents who are married, and she's also looking at some of their traits, and she's like, it's okay, but you see how such and such act, or you see how such and such act, and I get caught in a catch-22 because I'm like, if you find someone that is appealing, that is doing certain things that you think that is conducive for your life, then it's okay to be married. Don't let Auntie Mo deter you and lose out, right? But in the same sense, here are the traits. So I started talking to her about traits, and characteristics and things that's going to push you into a unhappy lifestyle,
right.
Because it's so, they get exposed. Like you said, you got the media, which we watch the Cosbys, right? So we looking at the happy-go-lucky family. Everybody's working, or maybe we watch Living Single, or maybe you watch, what's that one, Different World in there in college, these different settings, and so it can kind of mirror. I think you said it one time, Dr. Mayad, that you're with the culture you involve your kids in, or the schools, or whatever you're teaching your kids, it has to mirror the household. And so when we start talking about what happened to our relationships, you have to think about what are we exposed to. Because my friends, I have a lot of friends that watch a lot of reality shows, and boy, they could say some crazy, the darnest things, or they have the certain type of relationship. And I'm like, you don't realize this is shaping your relationship. But let them tell it. They don't think it is, but you can hear them say some of the same things those girls say on those videos, So they look at me and I'm like little country green girl, and I'm like, I don't think I want to get involved like that, because I'm not going to be happy, and then I'm going to divorce somebody real quick. King Simon told me I got the divorce number, and my birthday is the divorce number, so I have to be careful, because I turned 0 to
can dig it. But look, and I want to add that, you know, I think somebody touched on, I love your head wrap, Sister Alima. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah, that is cute.
You better work, girl.
But you know, I just wanted to add that chivalry was a must. You know, guys did open doors for you. You know, they came out, they took the trash out. They, you know, if you're walking down the street, you're struggling with your bags, you know, a little male child or older guy would approach you and say, "Miss, can I help you with bags?" I've actually experienced men watching struggle, talking about with bags, and not even saying, "Miss, can I lend a hand to you?" So, you know, back in the day, you know, chivalry, the guys were much more chivalrous. But I do agree with Sister Alima in that women, we came with that whole, I'm independent. I don't need a man for this. I don't need a man for that. And so I guess a lot of brothers just kind of fell back and said, well, wait a minute. You know, if you don't need me to do this, I won't take out the trash. Maybe you can take out the trash.
You know, sisters that I've seen brothers reach for the door for sisters and they said, I got it. Or I've seen sisters trying to lift something that was heavy and the brother said, I'll help you. And they said, I got it. It's like amazing to me. I don't care if it weighs 1 pound. If the brother said, I'm going to get it, then he's going to get it. Because
exactly.
that's him trying to show me that he's a man. So let that man be a man.
Let him be a man.
When you get a man and they don't treat you like one, then you got a fucking problem.
Yeah.
Oh, you got a major problem. Then they're acting like you're their mother. So that's a huge issue.
Yes. Yes, you're definitely right. I know I went through the airport when I flew to New York this weekend, and some of the you know, the generosity, but then you at some point you pass through the airport and they could see you struggle. Y'all already know my little dilemma. and I just look like, wow, you won't even ask. Like,
that's right.
Did you just pass? Okay, you know, so you know, those who did, I made sure I tip them very well. You know, I have to have some money just to tip somebody to carry my bags these days. I can't get no, you know, but at the end of the day, you still have, now there's some ethnicities, they just rude as all outdoors. You ain't getting no help. Oh, female, they ain't helping you one way or the other, you know.
Wow.
But then you got, but you know, I think sometimes I think that some of our homegrown, I like to call them our homegrown men, these American ways we adapt and we pick up, and we got some of our folks who weren't born here who are much more friendlier when it comes to treating that whole courting and dating and relationship deal. And then you have some of ours who, you know, adapted a certain culture that really is not a part of us, while we watch everybody else treat their women, you know, just with the utmost respect. They're with them, they're doing great things. And then we got some of our folks that's growing up and they like, you know what, I don't know what to blame it on, but I do think that we have a inherent right and wrong, you know, type of understanding. So it's kind of like, you really don't think that you're supposed to treat your significant other with such a respect? Like, really? Like,
but
how
see,
did you
Mo,
get
that
there?
goes back to what you were talking about earlier and how you were giving us examples of how y'all were groomed. We talking about the code today.
Yeah.
Who set the code?
Who set the code?
If he set the code for my mother, then how is she gonna set the code for me?
That's
and
right.
vice versa. So it's like we all are just going off of what we see as opposed to what we've been taught. And when we go off what we see, we already know that that's a mess.
And see, Sister Alima, and see, that's the whole importance behind, you know, the rites of passage, you know, womanhood training, manhood training.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, our ancestors, and I'm not, you know, I don't want to romanticize Africa and act like we just did everything right. But I do believe that they understood the importance of manhood training and womanhood training, and that during those things we were taught how to conduct ourselves as men and women, and also taught how to treat each other. We have to understand that, yes, behaviors can be genetic, but behaviors are also taught. They're also learned.
Right.
And so we gotta, like Sister Alima said, someone has to provide you with that code and also show you an example of that code.
Yes.
that, and that's lacking in the homes today. I just also wanted to add that back in the day, men and women didn't display certain behaviors around each other. For example, one of my godkids came over the house, and at the time, my father was present. And I didn't notice this. One of my friends had pulled me up and was telling me what my godkid did. She's just a female. And at the time, I think my godchild was probably about, oh my goodness, about 4 years ago. So she was probably 15. And my father was sitting on a chair on our couch, and my godchild was laying on the floor, you know, but she was laying on the floor with her legs open towards my father. All right. And so one of my good girlfriends was at the house, and she pulled me up, and she was like, "You see how she's sitting in front of your father? You know, she needs to be pulled up." And so we did just that. We pulled her aside and told her, you know, that she had to close her legs. That's just one little minor example, you know, of behaviors that we didn't do in front of men. You didn't sit in front of a man with your legs cocked open. Men didn't know when you were on your menstrual unless you told them. You know, you got some women that leave the tampon, just, you know, they don't even wrap up their, you know, the products from their menstrual, their monthly cycles. They just throw it in the trash can, and men are exposed to that. I've actually had brothers talk to me about that. They say that they're living with, you know, with their woman, and they understand. But I'm just saying, back in the day, you know, women, you would wrap up your napkin. That's what they would call it. You wrapped up your napkin, you know, in some toilet paper, and you would put it in a little bag, and you would take it out. You know, I just think that today there are just certain behaviors, certain things we do around each other that we didn't do before. My grandmother was telling me that during the 1950s, when she used to go to clubs, she was saying that the men didn't curse in front of the females. She said if a guy came in and he was drunk and he started using profanity, the other men would step up and they'd say, "Wait a minute, man, we got ladies. We have ladies present." So men didn't even talk a certain type of way in front of women. Do any of the sisters want to add to that?
I agree with that. I agree with you wholeheartedly, and not to beat this issue, but that all stems back from what you're being taught. Because if your mother didn't teach you how to properly dispose of your sanitary napkins, see, we would think that at some point logic would kick in, but I'm starting to learn that everybody's just not logical, and everybody just doesn't think that way, and that a lot of people, if they're not taught what to do right, they're not going to do it right. Like, it's a lot of slow people in the world. And I
very slow
generations, the mothers are becoming party girls. The grandmothers, they want to be party girls. Like, even my grandmother, rest her soul, she wasn't like a typical grandmother. Like, I can't give y'all stories that she told me, you know what I'm saying, about how it was back in the day and this, that she was partying. You know what I mean? She was sending me to the store to get cigarettes and beer for her. Like, I didn't have the typical grandmother. So a lot of people don't. And they don't have the typical mom. Their mother's a party girl, and she's not teaching them nothing, or she just work all the time. So we have a society of people who have been raising themselves, and the media has been raising them. And now we have the leftover result.
I agree, Sister Alima. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like you said, it all goes back to what we are taught and what we are exposed to. I'm trying to pull up my notes to make sure that we covered everything. And a lot of you kept mentioning the music. Sister Monica mentioned the music earlier. Sister Alima mentioned the music. And did you notice how, like, when you listen to the music today, you compare that to yesterday, it's like the music reflects our morals, values, and principles.
Yes,
you know, like, yeah, like, you know, you listen to older music, they're singing about love and family and, you know, black power, black empowerment, and, you know, stuff like that. And then you listen to the music today. There's a direct correlation between the music and our values. You know what I mean?
Music is cultural.
Yeah.
So the music shows the culture of a people.
Yeah.
And
yes, it does.
It's positive. I mean, if it's negative and shows negative images and downplays women and downplays relationships,
That's a direct correlation of how we are.
That's right.
And even the music, I was listening to some music the other day. I thought it was really funny, but even the music where they're having extra women, they were still like loving them. Like they want to take care of that household and this household. Like even with the bad stuff, they were still trying to do things that they weren't leaving people out and leaving kids over here, downplaying this person over there.
No, like you said, like you said, Sister Monica, they still, you know, those men were saying family first.
They were trying to love everybody.
Yeah, if they go and they paint one of their women houses, all the women houses got painted.
Thank you.
which trips me out, and that's a true story. You know, I knew a guy that had, you know, when I was younger, had 2 and 3 women, and whatever he did for one of them, he did it for all of them. I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
That was common.
So all of y'all houses are pink?
That's right. That was common, like Sister Cheryl saying. That was very common. I remember being a young girl too, and my uncle had a couple women, but he took care of everybody, and they knew about each other. But they took care of them households.
Hey, y'all ever seen? Have y'all ever seen the video where the lady, she was married, and at some point, you know, she was really upset that her husband was cheating with the other lady, but she came to a point. She said, "Okay, you know, my husband decides he wants to share himself anyway. I'm gonna agree with this as long as you don't interfere in my family." But what happened at the end? The lady, she ended up pay her bills or something that was getting ready to get evicted, so she needed somewhere to go. So she called the other woman and she asked the lady could she move in with her family, but the conditions was that her husband had to be in the room with her and that the kids had to go in the room with the other woman.
What? But you know what?
The lady was on the phone and she was like, "No, you can't move in." She was like, "What you mean? I shared my man with you all this time, and then now you don't want to help us out?"
Oh my God.
And look, ladies, I remember my grandmother telling me that when a man died sometimes, you know, different women showed up at the funeral. They said it might be like 3 or 4 different women at all of them had children by this guy. You know, he's dead in the casket, but then you had 3 women showing up with 2 or 3 babies, you know, saying that, you know, this was our father or this was my husband or whatever. But I agree wholeheartedly that you had to take care of home. You had to take care of home. I wanted to move on, ladies, because I know that we could kind of drag this out, and I want to wrap this up within the next, you know, at least 20 to 30 minutes. But I want to talk about the code, the brotherhood code and the sisterhood code. And when I was brainstorming like ideas that I wanted to discuss regarding the brotherhood code, I was thinking about my father and how he was telling me that, you know, when a guy had a problem with another guy, they will pull him up. You know, they will pull each other up. Well, the guy that had the problem, you know, with the guy would pull the other guy up, right? And they may get into an argument. They may want to fight. But if the guy was too little, you know, then the other guy might say that, let me go get my younger brother, you know, to fight you. You get what I'm saying? Let me get somebody your size to fight you. They didn't jump you. They didn't jump, you know, the other guys. My father also told me that those guys could take a butt whipping. They didn't go get a gun and come back, you know, the next day or 3 days later to shoot you. If anything, if they wanted to come back, you know, because they had a bruised ego, he was telling me they might want to fight you again. But it was unheard of to get your butt whipped, go home, get a gun, come back, shoot up the neighborhood. Like that was unheard for. They had a code, and the code was, look, if the guy is smaller than me, I'll go get somebody around his size to fight him. Or if the guy was bigger than me, then I might go get somebody that's just as big as this guy to fight him. There was no banking. There was no stabbing up. You know, it was they used their fists and could really fight. And so the brothers actually had a code. Do you sisters want to elaborate on some things you may have heard regarding, you know, the brotherhood code? How the brothers had a code?
They maintained the standard. They definitely maintained the standard in how they conflict resolution, definitely, but also with supporting one another with either ideas and possibly or just supporting businesses and things of that. They're easy to settle their differences and then still come back and kumbaya later and like, you know, they'll discuss it. And then when it resurface, they don't resurface and still angry. They resurface and laugh about it. That's one of the things I think that's really interesting with the male code.
I would say also with the male code, they respect one another's relationships more than females do. I don't know why that is, but it just seems like a sister can know that your man is sleeping with another sister, but she's not going to tell you. If a brother knows that his friend's woman is sleeping with another brother, he gonna let him know. But we don't respect each other's relationships enough to even do that. Not to mention, also, I don't know if this is the brother code, but I didn't recall when I was coming up, brothers getting into arguments and so many altercations with women. And I didn't recall brothers jumping into beefs that was specifically between women. But they now, it's like the brothers that used to mediate it and tell the sisters to handle that. But it's like now they'll get all involved, and that's weird to me.
Very.
Well, they're like how Dame Dash said, they're chatty patties now. A lot of the men. I think that was the best thing he could have ever said. You know, and that just reflects on how men aren't really men now. You know, a lot of them are what we would say watered down at this point. But something that you was just saying. What were you just saying about letting someone know when their man is cheating?
That's right.
Well, that I've done that. I did that 3 strikes. 3 strikes, you're out. I don't do that anymore. And the reason why is because that woman tends to side with the man, whether you got videotape of him with the woman, whatever the case may be. And my relationships suffered because I went back and said, hey, your man is messing with such and such down the street. I just wanted you to know that, you know, or your man actually came at me knowing that you and I are best friends. That caused a big rift with a lot of my relationships with females. Now, me, if you come and tell me my man is cheating, oh, I'm good. I'm going to high five you. I'm going to go and say a couple of words to him and pack my bags and probably be down the street. But all women aren't like that because most of them end up staying with the man anyway. And now that you went and you kind of let the cat out the bag, and to be perfectly honest, I don't know about you guys, but I always knew when my man was cheating. You didn't have to come tell me.
Exactly.
So she probably a lot of times was embarrassed because she's like, dang, now everybody know my man cheating, you know, but that's just being honest. I always knew when my man was cheating. I did not need you to come and tell me. Now, so at either rate, though, yeah, I think that's kind of in between thing about should you go tell your girlfriend, should you not, you know?
Yeah, I know one of the codes I see that's different that some guys don't do these days that were probably significant back then is instead of creating businesses that are complementary to one another so that they can do the barter system or maybe partner or collaborating to go after a particular industry, we segregated. They're segregating now, and they're not really coming together and collaborating like a lot of our guys, like a lot of the other ethnicities, right? They collaborate and they come together on their projects, but ours are either creating the same projects, our guys are creating the same one and competing with one another, as opposed to each taking a segment of business and then working together. I.e. example, like a construction project, right? It's so much to do with it. Instead of covering the entire project, I don't just cover the structure, you cover the electricity, you cover the HVAC, you cover the cleaning. You know, I don't see them doing that anymore. I think they're wearing themselves out and they're doing it from an individual perspective when they can collaborate and everybody get a piece of the pie. That's the piece of the code that I think is missing that worked back then. And with the sisters, I found it hard to get a code with sisters and it actually stick. Like I've actually developed with Cheryl lately. It was cool because when we seen that some people were actually falling apart, the first thing Cheryl said is, Mo, I don't care what happened. You do not do this in public and you do not, you know, and it was like, and we go behind the scenes and we talk it out and we make this work and we don't cross lanes and we do this and we do this. And we shook on it and we said, okay, this is how we're going to work. And no matter how many times people call me and be like, well, why don't you do this because I can't get in touch with Cheryl? I'm like, nope, that's not our agreement. That's not how we work. This is how we're going to do it. This is how it works. And I think that's one of the big difference that I see. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm here. I was listening. I was just like taking it all in, you know.
I wanted to ask Sister Cheryl a question and pose it to all the sisters. You know, like she was just talking about how sisters will get mad at another sister if they come tell them X, Y, and Z. Why is that? Because that's something that I never understood, and maybe because y'all are a little older, you can give me a different perspective. Like I don't understand that.
Well, you know what? I think the ones that I told, I'll give you one example of one. One of these girls, she was like my close friend, and her husband actually tried to come on to me, and I was a little naive back then. I was in my early 20s, and it was during the Christmas time. He called me and was like, "Hey, I want." To do a couple of things or whatever. And I was like, what are you talking about? But I was thinking initially that he was wanting me to find out what she wanted for Christmas or something. And long story short, he was saying, I got somebody I want you to meet. And I was like, who? And he was like, me. And I laughed because I thought he was playing at first. And turns out he was really serious, you know. So I went directly to her. I said, hey, I don't know what's going on over there, but he just did X, Y, and Z. You need to, you know, check him on that. I won't be back over your house no time soon, you know. But long story short, she ended up staying with him, but she just conveniently would never pick up the phone no more if I called or whatever. So we never spoke for real for years. And I think it had a lot to do with just her insecurities and maybe a little bit, maybe she was thinking, well, did Cheryl do something to egg it on? You know, I don't know what the issue was, but it definitely damaged our relationship. But I really think it, you know, most of the time it's a combination of just that woman, you know, whether she's insecure, whether she is in a situation where she can't take care of herself, so she got to stay with him, which wasn't the case for her because she had a good job and was basically almost taking care of him. You know, so that was like a no-brainer to kick him out, you know, because I'm not saying I don't condone cheating on any level. But it takes a special kind of man to try to get with your best girlfriend. Yeah. You know, you could go all the way over to a whole nother city and get with Becky over there. But why do you have to mess with your girlfriend, you know? Right. So he was just a scumbag anyway. But I think she just has some issues going on, you know, self-esteem and a lot of other stuff that kind of contributed to her pretty much pushing me away and just staying in that relationship.
And then it's because some sisters have malicious intentions, you know, when they telling you about, you know, certain things because maybe they want them.
Girl, I know she didn't think I wanted him with his no working self.
but that's true. That's true. She probably didn't, you know, I don't know. I don't know.
It's weird though. Yeah, it's weird.
I just feel like we should be that close.
Yeah, the guys' stories become more relevant. That happened with me and one of my cousins. The guy was much more, convincing, or maybe much more. She was willing to give up the relationship with the family member than she was willing to give up the relationship with the guy. So, and then fortunately, she found out later how that was going to go. And this one wasn't cheating. He was just controlling and didn't want her to do certain things and keeping her from her certain dreams. And I had always told her, I said, somebody does that to you, you're going to always want to go back to those dreams. So you might as well just get out of that relationship. And so enough, he ended up being crazy and a stalker or whatever. And she realized it and she walked away. But it took us, it took us about, about 2 years. My mom had to intervene and actually, it took a third person to come in and say, hey, listen, you guys shouldn't be like this. Maybe you should come in. And so she decided, she started talking, because I was not, let me tell you, I wasn't going to talk to her. I was like, whatever, bye. You don't dismiss me, and I'm trying to be genuine. But it took a third party. It's happened twice with a family member. It took a third party person to come in and say, give their little intermediate. And so sometimes it probably takes a third person to come in so that you can regain that relationship. But otherwise, they side with the guy.
Yeah, and I'm with Sister Alima. I don't understand why the whistleblower has to suffer. Like she said, we should be that close as sisters to work that thing out.
Right.
Me and you say, look, Dr. Oya, your dude is, is cheating, or he came on to me. Why would I turn that sister away without investigating, whether she was telling the truth or whether she was being malicious? I would at least investigate. Why is this sister coming to me? You get what I'm saying? But I wouldn't, I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Oh, I need to find out what's going on and why she's coming to me, making these claims. Investigate first. And Sister Aline was right. Some women have ill intentions, but some women come with the truth. You know what I mean? And so I think you would just have to, examine the situation before you make any moves. Examine what the situation is and come to terms with whatever, really did transpire. But I don't think that the whistleblower, especially if she's telling the truth, I don't think that should destroy the relationship. I think if anything, it should bring you closer to that sister, because that she's not deceitful, that she's not hiding anything from you, and that she's loyal, to you. Which brings me to talking about the sisterhood code. What happened, with the sisters? I can't tell you how many females I know who have slept with married men or who is sleeping with married men. You get what I'm saying? And they have no regard for his wife. When I say certain things like, look, sis, this brother is taken. They're like, well, I don't care about his wife. That's not my friend. And I'm like, look, just because this is a mere Black woman, you get what I'm saying, that's married to this guy, she should get your respect and loyalty just because of that. You know what I mean? But I've heard women say that, shit, that's not my husband. I've actually had a friend tell me that she prefers to date married men because there's no real commitment. She said they always had to go home and she doesn't want any commitment. And so how do you sisters feel about that? The sister code. What happened to the sister code? Why do we talk about each other? Why do we slander each other? Why do we compete with each other? Why do we sleep with each other's husbands and boyfriends? Why do we engage with people's husbands and boyfriends without wanting their wives to know, or without even reaching out to their wives and extending our hand in friendship? Sister Alima, you did a post about the sister code, and you said, what happened? What happened?
That's a good question. I would love to know what happened. I know it's not one thing for sure. It's a compilation of reasons. And I would say that men, they don't have anything to do with it per se. They haven't done anything, but they are at the heart of it. And it's like wanting a man's attention and needing to be seen, and it's like that overrides the sisterhood. So it's like, well, he's giving me attention, even though I know he belongs to this other sister, but he's giving me attention, so I'm going to soak it up. And I really feel like from a psychological level, a lot of that stems from we didn't get the love that we desired from our fathers, and we didn't get the love that we needed from our fathers. And I know for me personally, I felt that way for a while. And so when you don't have that, you kind of latch on to men, for a better word, you know what I mean? And I've turned away my family at times too, and sisters, who tried to spend time with me and things like that, all because of a man, because I was in love and I was getting attention. And, you know, I just feel like some of that stems from a lack of that we didn't receive growing up.
Yeah, that's true. I definitely agree with that. Because you see that in a lot of women. Most of the women that get with these men that are abusive, or, you know, I don't know about y'all, but I knew how a man was before I really got with him. You know, you just know by being around him, how this man is going to react, whether he's going to really cheat. You kind of are open up to some of that. Now, you knock it behind your back and say, hey, maybe I'll make the difference, you know, because maybe I can change him, because we're good at saying we can change him. I'm a little different. He just never had Cheryl before, you know, like we gonna be Captain Save-A-Man, but not knowing or understanding that you the one need to be saved, because why are you always out here trying to save a man? You know, exactly. You need to save yourself. How they say, heal thyself. So I ended up in a lot of broken relationships like that as well. I did have my father in my life, but it wasn't, you know, that structured type father bond. So yeah, I ended up getting a lot of broken men because I had a broken relationship with my father, but I was always thinking I could fix them. So it's just, and that sisterhood thing that we have going on, like you said, it comes from the self-esteem. It comes from internal issues that you're having with yourself. You know, you just can't you can't see a lady and be like, oh, like we was complimenting you on your head wrap. You just can't say, oh, I love that head wrap, but look at her feet. You know, it's like you got to do something positive and then you got to sum it up with a negative. Yeah, that head wrap is all that, but her feet weren't done. You know, and we have that issue in the sisterhood at this point. And I don't know if it's a competition with who, you know, the men, because we don't have a lot of black men out there now. You know, we have that lack. So like you said, everybody want to be seen. So I don't even know how we can begin to fix that sister code. It's kind of difficult at this point to kind of fix it.
I think each individual have to decide, you know, how do they want to pattern their lives and what do they want to hold truth and what do they want to hold on to and create that. Because when you think about creating a value system or a code system, I tell you, I've dealt with a few little groups lately in this past 6 months. And man, we make things so difficult. Like what's supposed to be easy, we make hard. If you come across a group of sisters, like I'm working with a group of sisters, all you guys on the panel, and you got it together, you got it going on, you can handle your business, you taking care of your lane. We should be congratulating, moving on and capitalizing on it. Not some people, boy, they just got to put their stamp on something. They have to be in charge, or they have to say they did the revisions, or they was the last person to see it, or you know, they had the money, or they, you know, they dressed like, oh my God, they drive me absolutely crazy. Like I'm like, okay, at what age do you get to a point where you say, yes, I finally amongst a group of women and we can go towards this? Do we always have to be amongst brokenness? Do we always have to challenge somebody because they don't know something? We all have our own expertise and rights. Can't we just embrace those different expertise, bring them together and do group leadership? Do we really have to challenge each other every time? And I think that's where the code goes out the window, when we become egotistic and we always want to be right, or we always have to be the forerunner. Like, even if you have values, like one really have to sit back and say, okay, what am I doing to change the code or change the atmosphere of my sisters? And that's what I've seen happen lately, that there are a lot of women who got it going on and who doing some great things, but boy, when they have to come together collectively, they right. just forget all of that stuff. They just kind of throw it out the window and they make life hard for the next person. And for so long, I used to say, I ain't want to deal, I said, I think I posted that, in Sis Lima asked, I said 80%, no, it was Sister Sapphire. I think Dr. Yaya was doing something, and I had said 80% of my friends are men. And she said, why is that, Monica? And I said, I don't know. It just kind of happens that way. It's no real reason, but it's because, and then when I went back and I actually thought about what I said, I came back and I'm like, man, because y'all make me want to cuss. That's why. You can't do nothing right. Every time somebody do something right, you got a problem with it. That's just dumb to me. That's just dumb. And I've had a military, civilian, family, doesn't matter. If somebody's doing something great, here comes somebody else. Here come another female. Oh, well, she could have did it like this, or the cake could have looked this color, or the paint could have been this color. Shut up. Just ride with it.
That's that jealousy. That's that competition. I don't know where we got that from. We've been so in competition with each other. Even when it comes down to the way we look, like, well, she got a big butt, let me get mine bigger. Her hair is long, let me get mine longer. Like, it's just, it's ridiculous, and we'll never be able to build like that. Healthy competition is good, but all the time, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
No code. We'll never have a code. We'll never embrace a code. We don't even know what a code is anymore, because I don't know.
I agree. And then I want to mention the music again. Remember I said the music, reflects your values. Do y'all remember Naughty by Nature, OPP?
That's right.
So that's when, hey, Salt and Pepper, if you mess with me, I take your man. So
I forgot about that one. That was deep, yeah.
So we study the evolution of music, man.
I'll be the other woman.
But when I've come to find those, sis, now that we're talking about music, I like listening to older music, but I find myself more listening to the lyrics. And although a lot of the music, of course, none of it advocated violence, but they definitely advocated in a sexual way. They were just more clever.
Yeah, they were.
What they said, but I heard quite a few songs, and they basically popularizing being a side chick. And this is in the 80s.
Yes, that's what I was saying. That's why when you talk in reference to codes, it takes a person to say, you know what, this is what I want to do, this is how I want to do it. But even when you have a code, you can easily fall into the pitfalls of things. So as visual, you got to check yourself along the way, not one. But sometimes, most often, because I tell y'all, I be wanting to, I told somebody I don't turn the other cheek because I will fight you. And the person was like, you so violent. I was like, no, because you know what? Enough is enough. And every time you look around, you always got something to say. So somebody just need to put their hands on you. You need to just hands on you. And I won't act like that again. I will still love you, but when I put my hands on you, you will never ever treat another female like that. It was like, Mo is crazy. No, yeah, I do believe that sometimes some people just need to be jacked up for real.
But you know what? You did say something, Mo, earlier, that now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of us, we don't establish that relationship. Like when you and I first met, I knew I needed to do a sidebar and say, okay, this is how and it was, in essence, it was a code that we were doing. When I said X, Y, and Z, this is what I expect. What do you expect? So we never really get with people when we meet them in the beginning to establish a code. So you really don't know what that person will and won't do. And then next thing you know, you stepping over that line and it's a problem. So I think to get that girl code back, we first need to start asking, what are your boundaries? We don't know each other's boundaries anymore.
Great.
Yeah. I like this enough to create that. That's the question. The next question would be, are you comfortable enough to tell somebody your do's and don'ts?
Oh yeah, you want me to tell y'all right now? No.
But she don't have no problem with doing it, y'all. She would tell. But you know what is in good faith. But at the end of the day, you already know where you are with that person. And I think you're right, Cheryl. We don't approach each other with what is our value, because we all coming from different walks. That's another thing. You talking about different walks. Some people are guided by their spiritual faiths and walks and things of that nature, and which compromises certain things. And some people are not. Some people just free. They just do whatever. And You know, you have to actually define words. I remember when I first time I heard Dr. Mayat, I said, and she always talk about methodology and how you approach something, and define that word. What do you mean by that? Because that's not what it means. I think we have changed language, the English language. We talk about other language, but let's talk about English and how all this slang doesn't mean what it's supposed to.
No, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
It violates all the codes, right? And so you come across certain people and they using certain words and it's so out of content, and you get yourself caught up and involved in certain situations that violates your code of ethics, you know, or the what's it called, the sister code. Like you can automatically say, now you know what, you violated the code, and then they're looking at you like, how did I do that? Well, you did this, this, and this. Well, I don't really look at it like that. What the what?
Mm-hmm.
Right is right, wrong is wrong. Call it a day.
And that goes back to what Sister Cheryl was saying by we don't establish that. So
Right.
if I do something and Sister Maya don't see it as something wrong, but if I didn't tell her initially the thing offends me, then how would she know? That's all back to communication. That's the same with a relationship with a man and a woman. It's no different, sister to sister.
Back in front of our both of that.
Back, please.
Come on, dear.
But she's 100% right. It's no difference. Communications, you know, whether it's in a platonic relationship or an intimate relationship, communication is key. And I agree with you, Sister Monique, in that we all come from different walks of life. We all come from different upbringings. So when we engage with each other, we do need to set our expectations from jump, so we'll know how to deal with each other. I completely concur with that. I want to move into the code regarding the treatment of children and the elders. I want to start with the elders because you know that incident that happened in Cleveland on Easter, this past Sunday, and an elder, I believe he was shot in the face. I watched the video, but the video kind of cut off right after the elder. I think the gunman said, "Say her name" or something, and the elder said the lady's name. And I think the gunman went to draw the gun, and I know the elder like put up a bag, I guess, to shield himself from the weapon, and then the video kind of cut off. So I didn't actually see it, and I'm glad that I didn't. But where's the code? Who the hell goes around and shoots an elder in the face? In Baltimore, if you Google this, just last week, a 90-year-old Black woman, she was caught up in a crossfire. Two guys were having an argument. They both drew their weapons and started shooting at each other. And this 90-year-old woman got shot in the foot. And I heard that it was all over a chicken bone. Someone said that one of the guys threw a chicken bone in front of the guy's house, and the guy told him to pick it up. And they exchanged words, and then it went from exchanging words to pulling out guns and shooting each other in the presence of this 90-year-old woman who was outside talking to one of her girlfriends. You know how older women sit out on the step or sit out on the porch. So she was talking to one of her girlfriends, and as a result of being outside at the wrong time, she was shot in the foot. Now, what are the ramifications of being shot in the foot? Well, depending on the bullet could have traveled and hit, the bullet could have traveled through her body. The bullet could have hit a main artery and killed that 90-year-old woman. Now, they did apprehend the two gunmen, but what happened to the code? What happened to the code that you see elders outside and you don't curse in front of elders? You see elders outside and you don't argue, curse, fuss, fight because of the presence of the elders and the respect that you have for elders. Where is your respect for the elders? Even with this scholarship that we discussed, you know, online you have young brothers lying on elders and slandering elders, slandering Ashwell Kwesi, slandering Menace Farrakhan, slandering Marcus Garvey. You got Nicki Minaj putting Malcolm X's face on the cover of one of her songs called Looking Ass Nigga. She got Malcolm X peeping through the window with his shotgun. Where is the respect? Where's the respect? Where's the code? Because back in the day, you didn't say or do certain things when the elders were present. Now you got kids playing on the playground, cursing, and they don't give a damn who's present. They don't care if it's someone outside that's old enough to be their mother, grandmother, father, or grandfather. They curse, kiss, and do whatever. Where is the code? In Baltimore, you can Google this. I believe this happened 2 weeks ago. There was a shootout in Baltimore City. And there were guys doing that. There was a shootout during the time that the children were going to school. So you had these babies who were walking up and down the sidewalk, their way to school. Two gunmen start shooting at one another, okay? And not only did they shoot at each other, they picked up the babies. Do you hear me, brothers and sisters? They picked up the babies and used the babies as human shields right here in Baltimore City. And I don't mean to yell, brothers and sisters, but I just feel some type of way right now. I really feel some type of way.
Yeah, that's that New Jack City mess that they did, in New Jack City. That's crazy.
Picked up the children, Sister Cheryl, and used the children as human shields while these babies were on their way to school. Where is the code? Where is the code?
Well, I believe a lot of that code for the elders, that kind of went down during that crack age, when a lot of your moms, your dads, your aunts, your uncles, your grandmothers, all of them was basically selling their soul for crack. So it deteriorated during that time. And now it's just on a level that is just, over the top. They don't care about the elder, the young. Hell, half the time they don't even care about themselves. So that's when I think that breakdown began to happen, where instead of pushing the kid away to safety, you're going to choose to use the kid as a shield. They don't care about anything. They have no respect for anything. And they glorify that. They probably went off and was laughing like, man, did you see how I got that little kid? Like crazy.
Yeah. And I'm in Baltimore and looking around at the playgrounds. You go to some of the playgrounds, you see drug vials, on the playground, needles, condoms. All right. And you got children outside who are playing on these playgrounds. You get what I'm saying? That should be off base. That should be holy ground right there. These are where our children play, where our babies go outside, for recess, for air, for fun, and you go to some of these playgrounds, you got drug needles on the ground and condoms on the ground and vials on the ground. You got some children who are riding around. Look at what happened in Chicago about 2 weeks ago. They were after one guy, he was a gang member, and they ended up killing not only him, but they shot his pregnant wife or pregnant girlfriend and his 2-year-old nephew. No regards. No regard for children. No regards for children, no regards for the elders. And like you said, Sister, they don't have regard for themselves. So we can't expect for them to have regard for others, if they don't have respect for themselves. Again, where is the code? And that brings to mind, I remember when Tupac was alive, and this was in the early 90s, and he was working with his godfather. I think his godfather's name is Mutulu Shakur. Is that his name, y'all? Mutulu Shakur?
Yeah, I think that's it. Mm-hmm.
So Mutulu Shakur, of course, at the time, I know this brother's trying to get out, man. They've been, free Mutulu Shakur. This brother has been going back and forth with the parole board, and every time he's up for parole, they don't give it to him. So I think they're trying to get him to do his entire stint behind the bars. But anyway, during the 90s, Pac had they were organizing brothers, inside the prison and outside of the prison to develop a code. And that's why Pac used to, rep that brand Thug Life. But Thug Life was more than just, gang banging and drug dealing and stuff. They were trying to develop a code of conduct. Like, if you're going to do this, you're not going to do it in the presence of women, elders, and children. So they were in the process of doing that. And they were organized inside the prison and outside of the prison. Again, where is the code? You have men and women and children who are being snatched up in Black communities around the world. Sister Alima put this on Facebook. 64,000 Black women are missing. 1.5 million Black men are missing. So I don't even know how much of that is children. But we got our men, women, and children disappearing. Where's the code? Where are the brothers saying, you know what? We're going to get out there. We're going to police the neighborhood. We're going to patrol our neighborhoods and our community. Where is the code? Where's the code? You know, there is none. And there used to be a code. There used to be a code. You know, people used to put things away when children came around. People wouldn't even say certain things in front of children. Now people play music in front of children. 92Q parents got it blasting. The music may be promoting, you know, death and destruction, but people don't care. You just blasting, you know, the music, you know, so the children could listen to it. You know, parents are cursing and saying whatever, you know, in front of children. And you have to understand that the message and behavior, the message that we give to our children and the behavior that we exhibit in front of our children is the same message that that child carries into the world, and the same behavior that that child displays displays in the world. So we have to be careful with our babies. They're very impressionable, but we have no regard for our children at this point. No regard for our elders at this point. No code of conduct. Do you sisters want to elaborate on that, or do you want to go to the last point?
I agree with you. I think we can move on if the other sisters agree.
Yeah, we can move on.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last point is spending habits. The last point is spending habits. Black people, you know, I'm talking about Black communities. I will argue somebody down that we don't have Black communities anymore. We have Black neighborhoods. We have Black neighborhoods. And I'm not saying that there isn't one or two communities that exist across the U.S. But I'm talking about you have a lot of Black neighborhoods where we don't even own the damn houses that we live in. We don't own the businesses or the land that that these businesses sit on. We don't own anything. But yet in Baltimore, you got people saying that they rep West Baltimore and they rep East Baltimore and South Side and don't own any goddamn thing in your neighborhood. Don't own nothing. And you talk about what the hell you repping. Don't own nothing. Yeah. The Koreans and Jews own your neighborhood and you talking about this is your neighborhood. But anyway, our spending habits. We have no code for how we spend our money.
That's right.
No code. No code. We will go out here. We'll spend our money with Arabs and with Asian, anybody that doesn't look like us. We have no code. But let me tell you something. Other races have a code. You have Chinese people here, Asian people here in Maryland. They won't spend their money. You never see them in Black business spending their money with Black people. You never see them. Sister Monica, can you mute the mic?
They don't close until 5.
Okay.
Yeah, I was.
Let me mute the mic. But Asians have a code for how they spend their money, and I believe when I was checking up on that, it said that the dollar circulates, I think, 6 or 7 times in the Asian communities before it leaves the Asian communities. They have a code. They don't spend their money in our neighborhoods. I'm talking about with Black folks, Black businesses. Even the Jews have a code for how they spend their money. Here in Baltimore, there's an area called Pikesville. And in Pikesville, we call that Jewtown. And the Jews own the businesses around there. They own the homes. They have schools that they own and control. And they spend their money with each other. Again, they have a code. We don't have a code. We will spend our money with whomever. And I remember, us doing a show, Sister Alima, and someone was saying in the chat room, oh, well, Black people don't have, businesses. They're not enough businesses. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. You can almost find any damn thing you want online. They have 2 Black owned and operated toilet paper companies right now. One is called Freedom Paper, and I forgot the name of the other one, but you can Google it. So if you want to get your toiletries, right, or your toiletries, your toilet paper, your paper towels, your Kleenex, if you want to get that from a Black owned and operated company, that is available to you. People have just become very comfortable with the brands that they're using. So they want to go get Bounty and Charmin and Scott and all of that instead of stepping away. They say that Black people, I was reading the Nelson report, and it said that Black people are the most loyal customers. We keep coming back once we like something, and we keep coming back, and it's hard for us to break those habits. But if you want to buy Black toiletries, that's available. They even have a Black-owned potato chip company right now. You know, that's available. Banking Black. You got Black Bank right here in Maryland. You got a Black Bank right there in Atlanta. And you don't have to be in these places to get a damn bank account. So you can bank Black. So there are a lot of options we have, but we don't utilize them. You want to know why, Sister Alima? Because there's no code. We have no code for how we spend our money. None. Sister Alima, Sister Cheryl?
Yeah, this is true. I remember listening to Will Smith one day, and it kind of sums everything up. What was that little quote he said? We spend money that we do not have on things we do not need to impress people who don't even care. You know? So we run around and we spend money trying to impress people. That's where the bulk of our money go. You know, instead of getting something that you can afford, you'll rather pick up another job, or you'll rather pick up some more hours to pay for, you know, a Navigator when you could just go get a Hyundai, because it's going to do the same thing. But you got to be styling and profiling. You know what I mean? You go, and I remember doing this when I was in the mortgage business. I had my own mortgage company. People would come to me because back then we could do stated loans. So even if you made $10 an hour, you could come and you could tell me that, you know, you make $100 an hour. And we could really get you a house based on what you're saying that your income is. So instead of getting homes that was in your for real price range, you're out here getting a $400,000-$500,000 house that you know in the next 6 months, because that's about how long it'll take for them to kick you out once you miss 2 or 3 notes. You're going to be kicked out of it. It just made no sense to me. So a house that I got you in 6 months ago, I look up, that same house is back on the market because I knew you couldn't afford it in the first place. I spoke to you about how this loan breaks down and how much you're going to pay. But because you out there trying to impress people, you bought something that you knew you couldn't afford in the first place. So a lot of our money that we spent, that Black people spend, is showboating. You want to showboat, even if you can showboat for only 6 months. It's craziness. It's just madness.
That's very true what Sister Cheryl is saying. I see it all the time. And it's like, we think that we're making another person look bad or feel bad because we spent, like one girl I was following on Instagram posted a pair of pants that she bought. This chick spent $1,600 on a pair of pants. And I'm just trying to find the logic behind it and behind you posting it besides you want to brag. And what kind of, like, that's economic empowerment? Like a $1,600 pair of pants? Like, the first car I bought was $500. I bought a car for a third of what she spent on a pair of pants. But it's like, we think that that's cool. We think the more expensive something is, that the better it makes us look. So we don't have a code where it comes to saving. We don't even have a code when it comes to ourselves and saving for our own personal families, let alone developing a code that spreads throughout the African community. We haven't even established that for ourselves. We don't watch our own wallets.
Yeah, that's true. They definitely say that everybody is one paycheck. Well, almost over half of the Black community is one paycheck away from being homeless, and that's true. We have no savings that's saved up. And then what are you going to do when when you get fired or they cut your hours back and you've been living off the overtime? You know, you have no concept of how money works. Like, I'm not going to go out and get anything without doing the math on it first.
Come on.
A lot of people don't do that. I'm like, this didn't add up when you got it.
Exactly.
Facts. And so, you know, we're going to close this thing out, but I don't want everybody to jump off before we close it out. Because it's like, as soon as you say we're going to close it out, everybody start clicking the button off. But I want to close this out by saying that we as a people need to develop a code that promotes our self-interest, That means how we treat each other, Black male and female relationships, brotherhood, sisterhood, treatment of our children, our elders, how we spend our money. We need to develop a code that will sustain us, that will advance us, protect us, and sustain us. All right. A code that promotes our self-interest. That's what it really boils down to. So, what happened to the code? I agree 200% with the sisters. And I think Sister Monica said this earlier, how we have been completely acculturated. And now, I would argue to anybody that, that the Black man and woman in America is now, to me, just a European with a European in Black face. We have developed somebody else's ways. We have adapted to somebody or have assimilated to someone else's culture, someone else's way of life. And that adaptation or that acculturation is it has adversely affected the Black community. It is destroying the Black community. We go from being a communal people to being completely individualistic, thinking about ourselves and not thinking about others. I remember talking to a sister on Facebook, and she said to me, Dr. Ma'at, she said, self-preservation means that I had to preserve myself. I said, no, sister. Self-preservation, when we talk about self-preservation, you have to understand that we're talking about self in the group sense, not in the personal sense. So people got that little concept about self-preservation being the first rule or the first rule of nature. People have it, people don't even understand the definition of self. And see, in this culture, self means self is used in a personal sense. But see, in the African tradition and culture, self was used in the, what did I just say, y'all? Not personal sense, but in the collective sense, the community.
Correct.
All right. And so we got to get out of that, man. We got to get back. I'm telling you, we got to get back to us, to loving ourselves, respecting ourselves, accepting ourselves. And once we get back to loving ourselves, accepting ourselves, and respecting ourselves, then we'll know how to treat our men. Men will know how to treat women. Women know how to treat men. There will be a solid brotherhood, a solid sisterhood. We'll be able to look out for our elders, our children, and we'll spend with each other. But until we develop a code, Sister Alima, until we develop a code, I don't see us being a progressive people. We got to get our morals, values, and principles intact. Sisters, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, sis. I agree wholeheartedly because we keep talking about unity, but we have yet to establish the code. Let's start there first. We got to start,
right. Your code of values, morals, and principles. Everyone want to unite. Like you said, Sister Lynn, we talking about Black power. Well, Black power starts with Black unity. But wait a minute. But wait a minute. What do we need to do to unify? We need to come together, man, and develop a code that is collectively practiced and enforced. Not only is it practiced, like it's cool that you practice it in your house, but I'm talking about it has to be practiced and enforced throughout the Black community. And when I say community, sometimes I feel like it's a misnomer because remember community, means with, and unity. So you're saying community with unity. And I will argue anybody down that we have far and few Black communities between. So anyway, I would like to shout out everyone in the chat room. I see we have the great mother with us, Sister Kaba Nepti Ankh. Peace to the great mother. We miss you, mother, great mother, but I know what you're doing. You're handling your business. And, we just salute you, sis, for, tuning in and then definitely keeping an eye on the chat. So salute to you, Kaba Nepti Ankh. I see we have Brother Sean P in the building. Brother Sean P, I see your name, Inni Harit Kalafani. I don't know if I'm pronounced it correctly, so forgive me, brother. I think I chopped your name up. But we got Brother Sean P in the building. We have Sky 11 Hook in the building. Swab BOS 26 in the building. Doug 757. That is my boy right there. Doug 757. Salute, King. Glad to see you here. Appreciate your presence. We have Young J 216 in the building. Sister Brandy Tamika's in the building. Let me see who else, because we had a lot of folks. Folks were coming in and out. My brother Tawola Johnson was in the building earlier. I see Cedric Ortega in the building. Sister Anisha Green was in the building today. And shout out to the Candace channel. Piece of that, sister. And then we have Shanisa Brown in the building. We appreciate your presence, sis, as always. Let me see who else we have. Make sure I didn't miss anyone, because we had about, 20-something folks participating in the chat. And let me make sure I didn't miss anyone. I think I said Sky 11 Hook already. Lessa Darcy, that's my sister. I can't wait to get you on this panel, sis. You need to stop, Lessa. So Sister Lessa, Sister Shanisa Brown. I'm trying to think if we have anyone else. I'm scrolling through the chat. Oh, Brother Jehudi Ma'at. Brother Jehudi Ma'at. Thank you, brother, for tuning in. I appreciate your presence as always. Let me see if anybody else is in the chat room. Rochelle Cody. Rochelle, peace to you, sis. Thank you for tuning in. Almost done. Formerly Geneva is in the building. Sister Geneva, peace to you, sis. Glad you can join us. All right, almost finished, y'all. Just trying to. Normally, I have Sister Raziki do this. Oh, somebody named John Money. Peace to you, brother. Peace to you, brother. I see you in the chat. Peace to you, brother. All right, so y'all, that's it. That's it. That's all we have for today. We just wanted to go in on what happened to the code, man, and we need to get out. We need to set some morals and values and standards. Set them in the home, and hopefully it'll propagate or permeate throughout the community, man. Like, we got to get back. We got to get back to having, I call it that Black code, or that African code. That ma'at. We need to do a ma'at for just being in America, Sister Alima. You know what I mean? We could take the principles of ma'at, or principles you learn in Ifa, or principles you learn in Akan, or whatever spiritual system. But we need to come up with a guideline for living. You know what I mean? A guideline for living, man. What you say, sis? You're breaking up, sis.
It would be good to talk about that. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Who would be good to talk about that? Codes, which goes right along with character, would be Dr. Baruti.
Oh, let's bring him on.
He wrote the book, Iwa.
Oh yes, E.Y. Pelly. E.Y. Pelly.
Exactly.
Yeah, I haven't read the book yet. I do have it because your husband recommended it to me, so I purchased it and I have it on my books, my list of books to read. But if you can get in touch with Baba Baruti and see if he's interested in coming on the show, so that we can talk about that, sis. I mean, I'm talking about we could do this next week.
Okay, I'm gonna reach out to him.
Yeah, I know that that would be a very powerful show to talk about that with Baba Baruti. So yeah, we need to talk. We need more of this. A code, a standard. Moral living. And so anyway, brothers and sisters, that's it. I know that I told you I was going to keep you until 2:00, and it's almost 3 p.m. But it was a powerful discussion. And Sister Alima, Sister Cheryl, I couldn't let it go. I felt like we were building on some things. And as always, it was a pleasure being in your presence, being in the presence of greatness. And so I love you all. Whoever's under the sound of my voice, please know that your sister Dr. Ma'at loves you. And I will talk to you guys next week. He talks, same time, 1 p.m. Peace and power.
Peace, family.
Goodbye.